Museums Victoria respectfully acknowledges the traditional owners of the lands where we work, the Wurundjeri and Boonwurrung peoples of the Eastern Kulin Nation, and First Peoples language groups and communities across Victoria and Australia. We pay our respects to their elders past, present, and their emerging leaders. Our organisation, in partnership with the First Peoples of Victoria, is working to place First Peoples living cultures and histories at the core of our practice.
Good morning and welcome to Ecoporium by Ball Doggett. Thank you for joining us here at Melbourne Museum. My name is Zaidee Jackson. I am the National Business Development Manager for Sustainable Packaging, and on behalf of our business, we are thrilled to have you here to celebrate what we know will be a great experience for us and hopefully for you as well. Joining me today is our senior leadership team as well as our national labels and packaging teams and also our Victorian teams. For those of you here in person and via live stream, it's an exciting time to have you with us and share this experience. We are thrilled to have live streaming guests across Australia, Finland, Scotland, South Africa, London, Singapore, Japan and India with us today. And for those of you that are up late, thank you for joining us in your various time zones. It is through your support as industry coming together to share this space and hearing from our key industry influencers that events such as this are successful, and to you I say thank you. This event represents the uniting of various industries that make up a very complex value packaging chain. Ball Doggett welcomes our historical channel of customers in printers, converters, brand owners, and the creative community that we connect with on a daily basis. What's exciting for us is that today we are joined by sustainability practitioners, international suppliers, specialists in waste recovery, packaging technologists, and other areas within the packaging value chain. We host for the first time 3 of the key associations: Printing and Visual Communication Association, the Australian Packaging Covenant and Organisation, and the Australian Institute of Packaging. We are proud to be able to bring everyone in the room together for the very first time. All our speakers are lending their voice and expertise to the conversation that is deep and broad and laid in complexity, and we all experience that through our conversations with our customers. The intentional nature of developing this event was to demonstrate what a powerful experience it would be with a collective of minds to deliver insight and education in a meaningful way. The purpose of today is to launch an exciting and new experience that we are ready to offer the market. In developing Ecoporium by Ball Doggett, the exploration has certainly been one that has introduced Ball Doggett into other areas. We have been able to connect with a larger audience, an audience that has welcomed us into the fold. The packaging community has provided a lens previously not realised for our business. They provided insight and knowledge into areas we did not have access to previously. The biggest lesson of them all, it's only just begun. The need for learnings, action, partnerships and sharing of knowledge for us all to achieve the optimal outcomes of all our sustainable roadmaps. It's a huge conversation that each of us in this room are required to be part of. As the largest distributor of raw materials, we are now in a position to contribute to that conversation in a meaningful way. Everyone, and in particular our speakers that will come to the stage this morning, illustrates how a collective of pundits welcomed our vision of Ecoporium by Ball Doggett, saw the benefit and supported the platform with your voices. The format for our event today will commence with our keynote speakers, Kelly Northwood, followed by Amber Bonney, Chris Foley and Nerida Kelton. Nerida, unfortunately, due to unforeseen circumstances, is unable to be down from Brisbane, but is joining us online and has provided us with a pre-recorded video. I will follow Nerida's address by inviting Linda Hewson, the publisher of PK and Packaging News, to the stage as our esteemed moderator for our panel with Mr. John Bigley, Sally Williams, Asaf Weiss, and also Rowena Kalewis. And for those of you looking to join the panel through Q&A, we do have the Slido app available for you to download. Hopefully some of you have done that before with the code hashtag ecoporium23. We extend our sincere gratitude to each of you sharing your expertise today. And I just want to say thank you to Rowena and Lindy for flying down from Sydney specifically for this event. It is acknowledged and appreciated. Today we celebrate the resource that's developed to inform, educate and inspire. Ecoporium by Ball Doggett is the conduit to connection, collaboration and the conversation. And I am now proud to introduce you to Ecoporium by Ball Doggett.
Welcome to Ecoporium by Ball Doggett, the destination for sustainable packaging. Ball Doggett is Australia's largest distributor of printable materials, press consumables and printing equipment. The Ball Doggett Group comprises of Ball Doggett Australia and BJ Ball New Zealand. Across the two businesses, we distribute in excess of 380,000 tonnes of materials per annum. We are part of the Oval Group, owned by Japan Paper and Pulp, positioning us as the key distributor in Australia with access to a global supply chain. Our broad reach in locations supports the service requirements of our customers. We boast the largest converting site of its kind in the Southern Hemisphere, based in Braeside, Melbourne, Victoria, supplying the market nationally and converting over 20,000 tonnes of materials per annum for the print and packaging sector. Our focus is on our people, our products and our planet. We are in the position to partner with our customers to support their requirements for materials that elevates their sustainable roadmaps. And now, we are proud to bring you Ecoporium by Ball Doggett, the resource developed to inform, educate and inspire whilst bringing a community together. We have lent into industry for insight and experiences. This platform really celebrates the strength that is our industry. It brings into focus for the market our labels and packaging product portfolio, whilst sharing knowledge with sustainability in focus. The experience offers our broad audience the opportunity to connect and partner with our specialists to ensure access to the appropriate materials for the products meeting the needs of functionality and application. We have interviewed the industry and sustainable practitioners, specialists, curators of packaging brands, customers and suppliers on how they view sustainable packaging through their lens.
If composting doesn't make sense, and it doesn't make sense for most packaging, to be honest, it's a niche application, design it to be recyclable through one of those recovery systems and to be compatible. Label it with the Australasian recycling label, so make sure customers know what to do with it at end of life.
These conversations are pertinent to share with the market as we all navigate this terrain, as a collective, as an industry and as key partners in the value chain. Ecoporium by Ball Doggett is the conduit for connection. We welcome contribution from the industry to share insight and experiences to enhance and elevate our audience understanding of the various facets that define sustainability. This impacts and creates change and shifts in mindsets. This in turn influencing direction of printers, converters, brand owners, and the creative community to make informed decisions. We share with you case studies with our materials in use and celebrating our customers. The Product Index brings into light our sustainable product range across the various product portfolios. With links directly to the Ball Doggett website to support your sampling needs. For us, it's about the conversation and how we can support you to make decisions that support your desired outcomes. our soon-to-be-released carbon calculator, under the banner of the Carbon Calculator by Ball Doggett, will provide an easy tool to develop meaningful connection to a sustainable approach to printing. Stock can be offset with the purchase of carbon credits, and this was made possible through our very own calculator developed by the Carbon Reduction Institute. For us, it's always been about the conversation, the collective impact and sharing of information that is critical to sustainable packaging. With gratitude to all our contributors on this platform, thank you for your commitment to bringing our vision to life. Alone, we can do so little. Together, we can do so much. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. I do want to acknowledge two individuals that have made this possible alongside me for the last 18 months. Courtney Newman is our brand curator and graphic designer, and also Stephanie Gadden from Rocking Rose, her own business, and the developer. We have been working tirelessly, and I am so proud to have walked this journey with you both. Could we please acknowledge those women? So now let's get this session started. I am so thrilled to invite up Miss Kelly Northwood, the CEO of the Print and Visual Communication Association, Mr. Chris Foley, the CEO of the Australian Packaging Covenant Organisation, Ms. Amber Bonney, the Managing Director of the Edison Agency. Please join me in welcoming them. Kelly Northwood is the CEO of the Print and Visual Communications Association, representing the paper, print, mail, publishing and distribution sectors across Australia and New Zealand, providing expertise across brand communication, efficacy of below-the-line channels, corporate and sustainable branding programs, and developing multi-channel marketing communication strategies that deliver results. Kelly has had many senior roles, most recently Executive Director, TCA Limited, and the CEO of the Australian Catalogue Association. She has held group sustainability and marketing roles across the print and mail sectors, with experience working across the Tasman and now the Asia Pacific region. A regular contributor to the marketing publications, including Ad News, BNT, Campaign Brief, to name a few, as well as across presence in radio and television. Kelly has a strong brand and communications background and emphasis on retail marketing and linking the holy grail of data to drive results and connect channel strengths. She holds a Bachelor of Arts in Communication, majoring in journalism, and postgraduate studies in education and sustainability. Please welcome Kelly Northwood.
Thanks, Zaidee. I'll pay you $50 later for the nice intro. Lovely to see so many friendly faces this morning. I love this industry. I love the direct members that I represent that are in the room, but also more broadly all of the associated industry players from design, creative development, engineering, and so forth. Before I do kick off, here we go. Before I do kick off, I really want to thank Zaidee Jackson, Courtney Newman, Stephanie Gadden and Ball Doggett for actually bringing this together. We need these conversations, we need dialogue, we need knowledge sharing, and Zaidee, you thanked everyone else in the room, but I think we all know how much passion and dedication you give to this. We need people as fierce and courageous as Zaidee, so thank you for today. I am Kelly Northwood, CEO of the PVCA, Print and Visual Communication Association. Something you learn about association land. We love acronyms, so if we sit long enough, we'll get you from A to Z all the way through. I'll teach you ABCs. What we actually do as industry bodies or industry associations is group together all of us in our individual businesses and our individual agendas to find a common pathway forward. And every association has their purpose. I represent here today the paper, print, packaging, mail, distribution, the whole spectrum, including designers, creative producers, from catalogues to magazines, packaging to mail. There's a lot that we do across the industry. It's a very large industry. It's an $18.9 billion industry, a very strong economic contributor. So we're helping with the productivity. We employ 258,000 Australians, and that is a very large space when you think about all the things that we do. I'll declare bias before I get into too much detail of what we do. The bias is we're all about fibre-based packaging predominantly. We do have members who other substrates, but predominantly we have a much stronger focus across paper and fibre-based solutions. So I'll talk a lot more about that today. Not saying we don't print on other substrates, but just to give context to some of the things I'm talking to. We also recognise across our fibre-based solutions the environmental credentials that we share and carry, and we really want to change what was perhaps, I was talking earlier, 10 years ago, if I went into a room like this and talked about the environmental credentials of paper or fibre-based packaging, I was a lone soldier, I can assure you. That was when I had banks handing me, saying they don't do business cards because they're saving the world from an environmental perspective. And then I went and did an LCA because I didn't like that, about the footprint of every time I look up someone on my Outlook or what have you, I look up someone's details as opposed to if I actually looked up the business card was 0.03 kilograms of CO2 and the endless footprint. So we're looking up digitally. So we know, we're learning, we're understanding environmental sustainability science more than ever before, and that makes us a lot stronger as an industry when we develop real solutions. We know across our fibre-based footprint, Australia is currently, and looking like that now as we move into new legislative eras, we've got 100% tree harvesting in Australia. There is no, for paper products, European standards. We have an illegal logging legislation. We have APCO across the packaging covenant. There are a lot of things as an industry we can be very proud of across fibre-based substrates, and certainly we can hold those environmental credentials backed by verifiable science. So we want to have that dialogue. We can thank organisations like Starbucks and McDonald's and major brands and retailers, and I know there's a few retailers in this room who help us communicate that message, from plastic single-use bags to paper bags and other solutions that we can continue to work through and enhance. So I want us to really understand when we're selecting or designing packaging, it must be absolutely fit for purpose, and I recognise that at times fibre-based solutions are not custom fit. If we're looking at pharmaceuticals, foods, and there are legislations around that. But what we do understand now more than ever is we're more sophisticated and embracing the knowledge of science and environmental credentials, the role that fibre-based packaging plays, recycled, renewable resource. This is a really strong position that we can talk to. We also need to do some work as Australians. We're one of the highest per capita consumers of single-use plastics, and I applaud legislation and state governments who are bringing in legislation around bans on single-use plastics. We can do better, and these conversations and arming ourselves with this sort of information is really important for us to make sure we're designing right and working with my membership cohort, the printers, as influencers and specifiers in the room, work with the producers to get that message and the design right so our output is spot on to the environmental needs of society. And it certainly is an environmental need of society. We commission our own research across Australian and New Zealand consumers, and the Australian consumer market is well aware of the environmental credentials of fibre-based packaging. This is not something that has happened overnight. As I said, 10 years ago I was a lone soldier in some of these discussions. However, we have allowed our education, and science has caught up with us, which allows us to have richer conversations but also continue to improve on those conversations. 72% of people are saying that the design of packaging is really influential. Any retailer in the room knows that. It's got to be bright, shiny and alive, but the printing technologies and the paper ranges that we have now are so much more specialised that we can really leverage on the look and feel and the design beyond the scientific credentials of environment. But what we're seeing overwhelmingly with the consumer research is that consumers are making purchasing decisions based on the sustainability of the product and packaging, and that consumers overwhelmingly understand that paper or fibre-based packaging has a higher environmental credential than single-use plastic packaging, for example. So we know all of that. We have a consumer movement behind us. Let's leverage that, partner with these sorts of forums like ecoporium and design with that in mind as well, of course, as working with our print partners. And there are many major brands who are doing this well. There are L'Oreal and Nestle and others are targeting zero net emissions, and they're looking at every aspect of their packaging, including in-store point of sale, marcoms, collateral. This is a really good, exciting thing that Nestle did. They've taken the Combi van. This was a New Zealand campaign. They steal everything, because I thought the Combi van was kind of Aussie, but anyway, they've taken the Pavlova and the Combi vans from us. But this was an excellent campaign. What was really clever about this was not only was there deep consideration to the environmental footprint in having a pure fibre-based construction where product could be placed into the shelf and as impulse, so it's a disrupted point of sale in the middle, but the display was fully recyclable at store. So again, any retailers in the room or agencies working with brands and retailers, that removed an additional logistics. So that's a reduction in environmental footprint, but it's also a reduction in cost. So there are ways that we can be smarter, and this is there's a case study about this, and I urge you to have a look. We've got it on our website and things like that, but the case study about the reduction, they got it to market quicker across 25 stores. They were launching the campaign earlier across a 3-month window. They reduced costs on their previous campaigns that they'd done in store, and it was all about really working to the science and engineering and design, and then the logistics and recyclability of a fully fibre-based solution. So I think I've sort of got my 5 to 10 minutes of fame up here, but the main sort of areas that I want to talk through are we must keep thinking, keep challenging, keep pushing. Our industry, the printers and producers that I represent are still pushing every day. I often say printers, we're greenies by default. Anyone who knows anything about manufacturing in this country, it's not easy. There is no room for waste, and that makes us greenies by nature. We recycle everything from rags to paper cut-offs, everything about us. Energy is, we're looking at renewable solutions, solar panels to keep energy costs down. So that gives great impetus and opportunity for printers, paper print all the way through to distribution to be continually improving our footprint, continually focusing on sustainable credentials and continually educating specifiers and influencers across the industry about what we should and shouldn't be doing and how we can improve on, like Nestle did, what we did the year before. So what we also should do, and it's a morning, so it's nice to have a little bit of fun, but as a mother of 4 children, always listen to your mum, and here's a video that proves exactly that. They're going to play it for me, aren't they?
Emma. Huh? Emma. Emma.
Every day it's getting on my nerves.
Emma.
Oh, I'm
Emma. Emma.
listen to your mums, but also designed to fit for purpose, fit for the environment. Fit for purpose includes the environment and our future sustainability. Listen to your mum, listen to Emma. Thanks again to Zaidee and Ball Doggett. Cheers.
Kelly, thank you very much, and clearly we all need an Emma in our environment, so thank you so much. There's just one question that's come up, Kel, if you want to grab the mic there on the seat. While we understand recycling options to be fibre-based substrates, how to measure the production of paper and products, for example, across energy and water?
A question straight up. Energy,
Sorry.
water, so that's good. The reality is making paper and even printing is a high water and energy consumer. However, single-use plastics and even multiple-use plastic substrates are much higher. So often the industry, particularly across fibre-based solutions, has been criticised in that regard. But one of the slides I talked about was a stat around 97% reduction in footprint across our industry. That is a phenomenal amount. That's since 1990. There's some mills in Europe that I get the privilege of working with and speaking with, and they're reusing water in a way that is just phenomenal how they can filtrate through. In Japan, they're selling energy back to the grid from the energy consumed and then saved through making paper is sold back to the grid to actually provide electricity across Japan. So the technology in our industry is phenomenal and really advancing and continuing. So yes, I think that's old science, a bit like I was saying, we've come so far, particularly in the past decade of understanding. But you're right, that's a question that sometimes pops up around energy and water use for paper production and even print energy consumption. However, the world has changed dramatically across manufacturing, and I think we've got an incredible record to talk to about it.
Absolutely, I agree. Thank you, and can we just please thank Kelly one more time? Amber Bonney is the founder and managing director of award-winning creative business The Edison Agency. She's a branding and identity strategist, guest lecturer, speaker and female leadership advocate. With more than 20 years' experience across diverse industry sectors, Amber has a vested interest in both traditional and disruptive design methods that activate, provoke and inspire. Amber believes the principles of human-centred design help shape ideas and behaviours and drive value for brand owners by connecting with their consumers more effectively. She helps organisations and brands connect, transform, excite, gain trust, disrupt, transform and be seen. Her personal mantra, and I know this for a fact, is bite big and chew like buggery. Please join me in welcoming Amber Bonney.
Good morning, and thank you, Zaidee. Clearly my hair's grown since that profile photo. Before I get started, it is Reconciliation Week. If you haven't been onto the Reconciliation Week website, I would definitely urge you to do that. I'd particularly like to recognise the power and potential of First Nations women all over the country as they are leading, nurturing and growing the oldest civilisation on Earth. And also just recognise First Peoples of Australia as the original storytellers and paving the way and privilege for people like myself in this industry. So, Zaidee talked about a collective of minds, and that's really what I'm here to talk about today. I've spent 25 years in this industry. My father birthed me into this industry. If any of you have been around long enough to remember the old Pac Pacific, my dad was head of marketing and innovation there, so from a very young age, I was indoctrinated into the world of packaging, which is both a blessing and a curse. Although what I would like to say is I'm not here to talk about packaging. There's many more people in the room that are experts and academics on the area of packaging and sustainability. I'm really here to talk about the sense of community and collaboration and what I'm doing as a business owner and what I believe the impact that we all have and the potential that we have as a group of people. So I'm going to take you through just a little bit about me and the business, not from the perspective of wanting to flash my credentials around, but to just give you a sense that if I can run a small business and strive to have impact, then certainly everyone else in this room can too. So for me, I'm really all about, and my business is all about creating change and impact in big ways and in small ways. We're 100% female owned, and we're really about inspiring creativity to have a positive impact on people, planet. And, and sometimes that means at a sacrifice of profit. The story, we're a curious and tenacious bunch. We never sit still. Mostly that's driven by me. I'm neurodiverse, so I literally never sit still. We have a really wonderful team of people who are great thinkers, writers, and have curious minds, and that's really what inspires the work that we do with our community and the work that we do with our clients. I think most importantly, and Zaidee mentioned something to this sentiment before, is that we say what we do and we do what we say. And so when you're held accountable and you hold yourself accountable, that has a really big impact on everything that you're doing. And that's really about balancing people, place and profit. And I feel very privileged that I have a great education and that my parents invested in my education because I believe that design's given me a superpower to then have impact elsewhere. So in terms of experience, we work with lots of large organisations and we also work with a lot of not-for-profits. The benefit of working with large organisations like the Bega Group and Asahi and Nestle is they then allow you to do not-for-profit work for free to become more democratic in how we're using design, which is a real privilege. So cross-section of our work across large FMCG, about 60% of our portfolio comes from FMCG, so a lot of packaged goods, and then we do a lot of work in the brand space, and as I mentioned, using additional resources to have impact in other areas. As a group, we have 4 key product offers really. Edison is our core, that's really about creating impact for large brands. But during lockdown, we launched an offer called Design for Good, which was really our head and heart area of the business. And now that's really where we're investing a lot of our time and creating some active goals that relate to having impact. And then we have our research and innovation sector. But head and heart Design for Good is really where I invest a lot of my time. As a culture, what's important is it's the values that keep us grounded, and that's the values that we relate to. It's really the reason that I have had a long-standing relationship with Zaidee and the rest of the community. And that's really about this sense of collaboration. That's about thinking outside the box and having that solution focus. That's about having a no dickhead policy. So when you've been in the industry for 25 years, you can pick and choose who you want to work with, and that's a great privilege. And so working with people who have shared values is really important. It's about being curious and open-minded, but most importantly, it's about a thirst for change. So I want to talk a little bit about designing the future, what that means for my business, and then what that can mean for ecoporium. So I spoke before about putting our money where our mouth is. We're about leading from the heart and practicing what we preach. And what that means at a community level is that we're bringing people on that journey. So that means everyone in our community, it means our clients, it means our partners, everyone's on the same page. And when we win a new project or a new client, the first thing we do is we sit down and we go through in the room all of our values and our actions and behaviours and make sure that we're aligned. Because if we're not, things are going to come unstuck pretty quickly. I do believe that all of us are passionate. I'm actually not a beer drinker, but it does say protect our planet. It's the only one with beer. I'm a wine drinker and a gin drinker, but I do believe we need to have a sense of humour when we're thinking about our impact. And I believe everyone in this room is dedicated to wanting to have a better place for their children and for their next generation of children. So this is really about working together. I mentioned Design for Good. We have 4 pillars that we work to in this business. It's the first one being environment and sustainability, and this is what ecoporium is all about. But the others are actually just as much about impact, so social change, diversity and inclusion, and considering education and development. And they're the 4 pillars really that the entire business is operated from, and there's a lot of synergy there with what ecoporium is doing as well. I'm not going to go through and bore you with this, but I suppose my point is, as a small business, we had $3 million worth of revenue in the last financial year. That's pretty small compared to probably the revenue for most of the people in this room. If we can have an impact and we can make a donation of time and cash and resources, then everyone else can too. So, if I'm not here to talk about packaging, I'm really here because I have a passion for this industry and I'm committed to human connection, and Zaidee is exactly the same, and that's really why she asked me to be here today and to share with you some thoughts. So this is about coming together, this is about creating positive momentum, this is about us and our collective contributions. It's about rejuvenating the industry, inspiring action, sharing our resources, which is really what the ecoporium platform is all about. And it's about being here for tomorrow and protecting that tomorrow. So I want to share a couple of examples with you of people leading the way, and they're not packaging examples. I think the core premise behind everything is if you consume less, this is better, and you can share more. So we're moving into a shared economy. I have 3 examples of brands or organisations that I believe are setting new benchmarks. I've chosen a big, a medium and a small. So you don't get much bigger than Unilever. They are not a client of ours, but definitely if anyone's in the room from Unilever, we would like them to be clients of ours. I think what's important here, so their ANZ business was one of the first businesses to be B Corp certified, which is a massive achievement. We submitted our B Corp application this year. It took us 18 months. We had to make significant changes. It was all for the betterment, but it's a big process. So for a business of Unilever's size to make that commitment, we know how much work that would have been, and that charge was led by Nikki Sparshot, which is really amazing. So that has an impact on not only the diversity and inclusion of their people, impact on their culture, but also impact on their dedication to sustainable packaging. The Ace Hotel, has anyone stayed here? If you haven't, I definitely, if you can afford to splurge out, which on several occasions I have, it's definitely worth it. This is a business that's really dedicated to focusing on sustainability throughout the whole system and experience for customers. So that means everything from reducing single-use plastics in rooms, so no more little shampoos. All of their products that are in the minibar are using sustainable or recyclable materials. They have the Surfrider Foundation, so when you book a room, a certain percentage of that money goes to that foundation. And also just, I suppose, they have a real principle about being empathic to the local culture. So as a brand specialist, what I love about their brand is it changes all the time. So I went to the ACE in Kyoto recently, my first time in Japan, and what a beautiful experience it was being somewhere where everything in the hotel was not just a carbon copy of what was somewhere else. It was sympathetic to its local culture and its environment, and was a really beautiful experience. Rock, this is a toothpaste. It was a female-founded startup. There's a lot of criticism when you have independent brands using, sustainable materials and biodegradable toothpaste, and then everyone jumps on the bandwagon saying, well, yes, you can do that, but perhaps you should just not create toothpaste at all and just use, bicarb or something. I think that the sentiment of why I've showed you these 3 examples is about everyone making a small amount of change and doing their part. And little independent brands like this, and that's not to diminish their success, but they're actually shaking up what all the big organisations are doing, because they're creating, once they're in retailers and they're out of their boutiques and they're in, the Woolworths and the Coles, suddenly the big guys have to stop and listen, and that's the sort of impact that they have, which is really incredible. I don't know how I'm going for time, but I'm nearly finished, I promise. All right, so my top 5 for what ecoporium means to me and should mean to all of us. It's about being always open. What that means is it's staying curious to new things, it's asking why not, and it's making sure that you're always open to change. It's about the P, people, product, planet. What that means is what are the impacts on people, asking those questions. What are the benefits to the products if we use more sustainable practices? And is this the best way forward for the planet? These are really simple questions that can be asked at the beginning of every project. Of course, Zaidee talked a lot about collective. This is about community and strength. And we all learnt during lockdown the sentiment of love thy neighbour. So this is about working together. This is about listening to customers, listening to consumers, innovating together, and the idea of the power in numbers. So back to this idea of being a shared economy and sharing our resources, which is really what ecoporium is all about. This is also about generosity. This is a man, look at that smile, Father Anthony. He's part of the Franciscan order. My eldest son, who's 19 now, he was baptised into the Catholic Church. I'm not a practising Catholic, but it was important to my family that he did that. And the reason I shared this is Father Anthony said to me once that generosity and charity is not about recognition. So true people who donate their time, they don't flag about it on LinkedIn 35 times in 1 week about how great they are. They do it without recognition. And I think, the spirit of ecoporium is actually about sharing those resources and working together rather than competing against each other. So it's about being open. It's about having no ego and being selfless. It's about being open to change and, most of all, being kind. If any of you have listened to the podcast The Imperfects, does that ring a bell? If you haven't, definitely download it. There's so much great content there. But the high-performance coach, Ben Crow, quoted recently on there, be a good human first and a good athlete second. And I thought that resonates really across all industries. Zaidee mentioned my personal mantra, bite big and chew like hell. I think bite big is something that everyone should be doing when we're thinking about this sentiment. So every little bit counts. Be ambitious. Don't be afraid to stretch your goals and keep moving forward. So these are the 5. Always be open, think P, love thy neighbour, be generous and bite big. And this is why we're here today. Done. Thank you.
Thank you, Amber, and I really appreciate you being on stage and bringing that lens to our audience today. So I appreciate your generosity of time. Mr. Chris Foley, the CEO of the Australian Packaging Covenant Organisation. Chris specialises in creating value and impact for large, complex businesses and organisations by improving the sustainability of their operations, products, packaging and their value chain. Supply chain. His experience includes driving system changes to deliver sustainability, product stewardship, corporate reputation outcomes in Australia, New Zealand, Asia and in the US. Prior to joining APCO in August 22, Chris led strategic and transformational change in environmental sustainability across leading retailers Kmart and Target, where his remit included climate change, product stewardship, circular economy, packaging, plastic and waste. He's also spent time in the packaging and utilities industry and government. As APCO's CEO, Chris leads the development and execution of strategies that bring businesses, governments and industries together to design, use, recover, reuse and recycle packaging to improve waste, climate, water, material, chemical and social impacts. Please join me in welcoming Chris. Thank you.
Thanks, Zaidee, for the opportunity. The slide deck that I've actually got here is titled Packaging System Update, which is so dull and boring. To be honest, it's really, and if you look at Emporium and what it's actually trying to achieve, it's really about the opportunity. So I'm going to talk through a little bit for context. I'm assuming not everybody knows who APCO is, and again, we love acronyms. It's the Australian Packaging Covenant. I'll get to that in 2 seconds. I'll talk to the national packaging targets, some of the challenges in industry, but equally for a lot of folk in this room, and certainly for Ball Doggett, there's massive opportunity in this space. And it's really a case now of how we can all work together to harness that opportunity. I'll talk a little bit about the key findings of the national packaging targets and certainly the areas of focus for APCO and how we're trying to take our members on the journey moving forward through till 2025. Through that conversation, I'll also touch on a couple of the things about regulatory reform, which is really, really paramount. It's a once-in-a-generation opportunity that the government's undertaking to reform the co-regulatory framework that sits around the packaging sector. So it is here and now. So let's get into it. Who is APCO? So we are a co-regulator. For people that don't know what a co-regulator is, I sort of have one arm being pulled by the federal and state environment ministers, the other arm being pulled by 2,300 members. Essentially, if you're turning over $5 million in product that is packaged, and that's primary, secondary and tertiary packaging, then technically you should be a member of APCO to acquit your obligations under the National Environmental Protection Measure. Alternatively, you have to do that through each separate state government EPA. You've got a choice. 2,300 choose to, or a chunk of businesses choose to do that through APCO. How we do that is through packaging design, the design guidelines, working across the system to advocate for recovery. We've obviously got reporting and compliance obligations that we help members acquit, and also we're involved in research and advocacy. As far as the national packaging targets, these were set in 2018. They are voluntary, and I'll talk briefly on their progress shortly. Late last year, I started in late August. By the end of the year, we'd completed engagement with about 500 organisations across the system to really do a deep dive onto what is the status, what are the barriers, what's working and what's not, and really also understand the numbers. That work was published probably a month ago. Some of the key headlines out of this, and again, these numbers don't, on the one hand, you look at it and go, wow, like we're not meeting the targets, but that in itself is the opportunity, and that's the space that certainly I'm hoping that ecoporium can actually help fill. The headlines here is the target number 1, which is at 100% of reusable, recyclable, compostable, 100% of packaging is reusable, recyclable or compostable by the end of 2025. At the moment, that's sitting at 86%. So there are a lot of businesses out there that need help to fill that delta. Target number 2 is more complicated, more challenging, and that is that 70% of plastic packaging is recycled. Obviously, in the last 6 months, we've had some significant challenges with Red Cycle, albeit the Red Cycle program was only dealing with a very small percentage of plastic. We do know that the community embraced it and the community punters out there in suburbia want to do the right thing. That creates a whole lot of challenges when the system actually isn't there to back it in. Target number 3 is, talking to target number 2, the reality is we've got a 70% target. At the moment, it's sitting at about 18%. So there's a massive uplift needed if we're to achieve by 2025. Target 3 is 50% recycled content. At the moment, we're sitting at 39% balanced across all materials. That obviously differs between glass at one end and paper, cardboard versus the plastics. And then target 4 is the phase out of problematic single-use plastics, which is currently sitting at about 28%. So the headline coming from this is that the targets are not likely to be met. Some of them will be, but not all of them will be. But there's certainly no reason for them to be thrown out or massively over-engineered. They're still driving a lot of change, and that change is the opportunity that you hopefully will engage in, and we're certainly advocating for with our members. And it's certainly something that governments are chasing. There are a couple of elephants in the room that came out of the engagement process. There are 4 key challenges that were identified. What we're doing now is really working to see from an APCO point of view how we can lean into government who are doing the review of the regulatory framework to make sure that we can address these challenges. And they're very real. Lack of an effective regulatory stick. I mean, when I took the role on, it's like, oh my God, Chris, why are you moving from big corporate world, Kmart, Target, Wesfarmers, into a toothless tiger? the reality is that has to be fixed. Businesses will only do so much unless there's a perceived even playing field for all. We do know that businesses want to do the right thing. We know that the customers want you to do the right thing. We also know shareholders want you to do the right thing. It's good business. We just need to make sure that it's the regulatory framework helps support that. There's obviously lack of consistency across state jurisdictions, and we all see that with a whole lot of challenges around, particularly things like single-use plastic. There's lack of an overarching strategy and integration of the recycling framework. So materials aren't all the same across the country as far as what goes into curbside, for instance, and even the CDS schemes are not all the same. So this regulatory review is a fabulous opportunity to actually reset and rethink all of the above. And the fourth point there around competitive disadvantage for early adopters. And again, that's from my point of view, the timing of ecoporium is fabulous, that there is a market demand going to be really coming through for these solutions. 4 key findings came out, apart from the headline numbers that I just spoke about. So the targets are driving change, but more needs to be done. Post-2025 vision is desperately needed for businesses to continue the investment. There's also got to be strengthened collaboration across the entire packaging system is absolutely paramount and key, and we need material-specific strategies. As to how APCO is actually bringing that to life, there's a lot of text up here. I'm not going to read through all of it. The text is there more because I think these notes are going to be handed out. There are a couple of key call-outs here, though. We're certainly leaning into our members around adopting the sustainable packaging guidelines. We're reviewing those at the moment. We're strengthening our internal capabilities around packaging technology. So we've got Ian Hayes on board. He started with us late last year and he's now permanently on staff as our head of packaging transformation, somebody from the sector who knows the game. He's now padding out a team in his area to really be able to engage with the packaging sector across all the substrates. We're certainly changing how we engage and lean into some of these issues across the whole system. And we're also strengthening some of our core assets, like things like the Australasian Recycling Label. It's been around for a number of years now, and credit to people like Anthony Payton for the work that they do through providing the back-end prep tool. We've now got to take that to the next level. If the sustainable packaging guidelines can be truly embraced, from my point of view, the other call-out is we're advocating to government that the sustainable packaging guidelines be mandated as standards, which will help define a pathway forward and give both investment and business certainty. They need to be backed in with material roadmaps that Ian's working on through a number of processes that he leads with what we call sustainable material stewardship committees. So we've got one for rigids, flexibles, fibres, glass and plastic and labels. So if you've got a vested interest in those areas, please reach out. Those committees are working on material roadmaps that will take us through till 2030. They'll then be brought to life through the sustainable packaging guidelines that we will be positioning to government. They need to be standards. That will in turn drive a systematic change across, the way we look at packaging and also collect it. We're advocating also that they then can be backed in with standards around MRFs and collection contracts so that we can get rid of this ambiguity around, just because you say it's recyclable, it may not necessarily be getting recycled. So it's a very different approach and mindset. It's a great opportunity though, and again, we need to see solutions being made more available, pardon me, and accessible to the community or to businesses. I know that my 10 minutes is about to come up. So probably three key takeaways from me. Stronger regulations are coming. You'll be told, if you haven't been hearing or listening to the tone of government, they're acknowledging it. New administration, they want change to happen in this space. It's now just a case of what does that look like. Again, broken record, we're positioning a much stronger version of a co-regulatory framework that's industry-led, that is driving and supporting innovation and collaboration and competition versus a plastic packaging tax, which was the UK solution, which was a dismal failure, and or a sort of a government central control authority. The other key message is that it's time to get on the court, and that's again the opportunity for your industry, for our members will be coming through looking for solutions. They need to then work out who to collaborate with and how to do it. And again, that's when Zaidee said, "Hey, we've got this great new way of working." I'm going, bring it on. The opportunity to have a one-stop shop like this is brilliant, and certainly it's a really timely opportunity for our members, but also the industry to provide solutions. So that's it from me. It's a bit of a crash course. Happy to actually pick up any conversations or questions post this presentation, but there is a big opportunity in this space moving forward.
Thank you, Chris. And if it's a crash course for you now, I implore you to jump on the APCO website and look at the robust conversations that are happening there. And as Chris outlined, there is a lot of work being done right now, and we're really proud to be part of that journey with our own specialists in the room and being able to get a voice at that table, which is why I said earlier, we are all required to be part of that conversation. I'm going to head to Nerida Kelton now, just fill you in on who Nerida is, and then we'll launch into our panel. Nerida is the Executive Director of the Australian Institute of Packaging and Vice President Sustainability and Safe Food World Packaging Organisations. Having worked in the packaging industry for over 24 years, is the lead for the Safe Food Packaging Consortium project within Fight Food Waste Cooperative Research Centre, and was the packaging representative for National Food Waste Strategy Steering Committee. She is committed to educating and training packaging professionals in the importance of sustainable and circular packaging design and recognising best practice in this area. Nerida is a qualified public relations practitioner with a Bachelor of Arts, double degree, double major in Japanese, a Bachelor of Business in Public Relations, and a postgraduate degree in Public Relations and Communication. Recently appointed Fellow of the Australian Institute of Packaging, is the youngest and first female to ever receive a life membership of the Supply Chain and Logistics Organisation in Australia for her significant contribution. I'd like now to share Nerida's message to you all. Thanks, Dean.
Well, hello, my name is Nerida Kelton and I'm the Executive Director of the Australian Institute of Packaging. And in my volunteer role, I'm also the Vice President of Sustainability and Safe Food for the World Packaging Organisation. And firstly, I would like to sincerely apologise that I can't be with you today in person, and I am extremely sad about that. And I am really looking forward to hearing about the outcomes that are achieved today with the ecoporium launch. Now, for those who may not know who we are, the Australian Institute of Packaging have been around for 60 years this year. We're really excited about that and proud of that. We are the peak professional body for packaging training and education in Australasia, and we represent Australia, New Zealand, and parts of Asia. And at the end of the day, who are we? What do we do? Well, we're here to you. And we are here to train and educate you and your customers, your partners, your clients about all things packaging. And it doesn't matter whether it's primary packaging, secondary, tertiary, in any category, in all industries, we have the experts that are here and waiting to help you to design the best packaging, the optimal pack, to make sure that it has the lowest environmental impact possible. And obviously, sustainability and sustainable packaging and circular design and designing out waste is a very loud conversation, and it's fantastic to see, and it's certainly going to keep us all busy and in jobs for many years to come. But with sustainable packaging and designing for circularity, there are challenges. And there are barriers, and there are many things that you need to understand. And that's one of the benefits of today, and podiums like Ecoporium and also the AIP and all the other associations that are there with you today. We need to work together to ensure that we can help all businesses, small and large, to understand their footprint and to help them to lower that environmental impact that their business is putting in the environment. And sustainable packaging is just one aspect of that, just one tiny piece of the bigger puzzle. And obviously, when we are discussing things like environmental impact, we also can't forget, we can never forget, food waste. For many of you that know me, this is a very important issue to me that I'm extremely passionate about. Food waste has a much greater environmental impact than that of packaging waste. And yet the conversation always sits around packaging waste. And we need to start having a balanced, science-driven, evidence-driven conversation as a community and as stakeholders across the value chain to ensure that we are not having unintended consequences. And so AIP is here to help you on that journey to ensure that your packaging is fit for purpose, functional, and that the materials that you use and the packaging types that you use can have the least or lowest environmental impact possible. And when we look at the representation of packaging designs and innovations that we have locally, and we look at them from a global perspective, as some people have been saying for many years, we punch above our weight, and we're really proud of that. Australia and New Zealand is innovative. We are unique in the fact that we are so far away from the rest of the world that we can do things differently. We can take risks. And when we look at the Australasian Packaging Innovation and Design Awards, or as we call them, the PEDAs, and the number of entries that go into the World Star, prestigious global World Star Awards every year, we really are punching above our weight. Just this year alone, we had 2 tables of Australians that came to Interpack to Germany last month to pick up 22 awards globally. We were the second in the world behind Japan, which I personally am extremely proud of. And I encourage all of you to take risks, to innovate, and to work with fantastic companies like Ball Doggett, and to use platforms like ecoporium to learn more, to access resources, to access experts like the AIP and the other associations that are here today. We are all in this together. We all have a role to play. I'm extremely proud that Ball Doggett are a corporate partner of the AIP. They do amazing work, and today's launch is proof of that. So congratulations to Ball Doggett, and I encourage everybody to use the ecoporium website and platform. And if you ever need to find out anything about packaging, please reach out, and have a fantastic day.
Please put your hands together for Nerida Kelton. And the moral of the story, it's a collective impact, my friends. Now, I am going to hand the reins over to my esteemed colleague, Miss Lindy Hewson. Before she does get up here, Lindy is an experienced business journalist, editor and publisher in the field of packaging and food and beverage manufacturing, with a demonstrated history of working in the media production industry. And before I continue, can we please just thank our keynote speakers, Kelly Northwood, Amber Bonney, Mr. Chris Foley. Thank you so much for being here and lending your voice. Miss Nerida, I know you watching via online, so thank you very much. Lindy is currently managing editor and publisher of the PKN Packaging News and publisher of Food and Drink Business, Print 21 and Climate Control News for industry-leading media brands owned by Australian independent publisher Yaffa Media. A B2B editor with some 27 years' experience, Lindy has covered major local and international exhibitions, conferences and technology launches, led inward missions, moderated panels and presented at forums. Lindy has a passion for delivering and engaging insightful content through the multimedia channels, including Play PKN, Video Bulletin and PKN Podcast, which she hosts. Lindy was recently appointed the president of the International Packaging Press organisation. Please join me in welcoming Lindy Hewson as she takes the reins for the rest of the morning.
Thanks, everyone. Well, when Zaidee Jackson, the all-round good human, as Amber would say, and indomitable force that she is. First let me in on the plans for ecoporium. I was really excited, or opgewonden, as we would say, Zaidee, because of what this means for leadership on sustainability in our industry. With the name derived from emporium, which means marketplace, trading post, shop, if you like. On one level, it was very clear that this was going to be a platform or an online portal where you could go and have a look at eco products. There's a comprehensive portfolio of sustainable material options for packaging and printing. But on closer interrogation of this proposition, I realized that it was operating on another level as a gathering place, sort of a build it and they will come style, that provides access to education to enable the packaging and printing industry to make informed choices. And then on a further level, to then provide support so that those sustainable choices become viable business deliverables. And PKN is really proud to be the media partner, so thank you for that, Ball Doggett. We are going to facilitate some of these conversations now with this upcoming panel discussion, and it is my pleasure to introduce our panelists. I'll read out their bios as they come up. So first we have John Bigley. He is the CEO of Zipform Packaging. John has over 35 years' experience in the packaging industry, starting out as a service engineer, then progressing through the ranks into senior operational and business leadership roles in international packaging organizations. He moved to Australia from Europe in 2011. He led, at that time, a globally owned Australasian metal packaging business. And before joining Zipform in 2018, he was the managing director at James Strong Packaging, a market leader in supplying metal packaging to the FMCG market. John's packaging pedigree is leading Zipform Packaging into a new era with major capital investment planned for this year and ensuring the company has presence and relevance to today's ever-evolving consumer markets. Then, for the consumer interface, we have Sally Williams, founder of Choice for Life. Sally first appeared on our TV screens. We all know her well over 25 years ago. She was well known and respected as the brand power lady. The trusted voice, along with her engaging and considered approach, has been the secret of commercial success for both the series and the brands it promoted. And then an opportunity to make a significant career change along with the way she lived was actioned. Along with this change in direction came a change in name. Brand Power Lady became Sustainable Sally, a fierce and trusted advocate for the sustainability movement within Australia, driving conversations in boardrooms, on stages and podcasts, and empowering industries to act. She now works closely with an expanding range of B2B and B2C clients in the sustainable sector. She has recently launched Choice for Life, a media or advertising content platform available to brands who are making a dedicated contribution to sustainability with their products and services. Eminently qualified to be here. Another person very qualified, Asaf Weiss, Managing Director of VacuPack. Now, since childhood, Asaf has immersed himself in engineering and plastic packaging at VacuPack, a leading provider of thermoforming solutions in Australia for 40 years. With over 25 years of industry experience, he possesses exceptional business management skills and an innovative approach to manufacturing. Asaf has been instrumental in expanding VacuPack and Focus IML, that's in-mold labeling, for those who don't know, particularly in strategic business development. He founded VacuPack's design and development department and implemented ISO 9001 and HACCP accreditations. Asaf's exposure to numerous food processing plants and automation systems has deepened his industry knowledge and fortified his client relationships. Now, his focus lies in environmental sustainability, making VacuPack Australia's leading processor of post-consumer recycled rPET for thermoformed food packaging. Welcome, Asaf. And then, last and certainly not least, we have Rowena Curlewis. Rowena is CEO and co-founder of drinks design specialist Denomination. She started the business 20 years ago and has worked on many drinks brands that you'd know. We hope you'd know them. Penfolds, Wolf Blast, Tread Softly, Little Giant, and Yalumba, to name but a few. Her business spans the globe with offices in Sydney, London, and San Francisco, and it works across wine, beer, spirits, and non-alcoholic drinks. Sustainability looms large on the agenda for Denomination, and its sustainability team has developed a program called Future Proof, which aims to lead the sustainability conversation in drinks. Denomination has won more than 250 awards, and Rowena regularly contributes articles and lectures in design, innovation, and strategy. Apologies for the high speed of all of that, but very welcome to all of you. Let's get going. Now, John, I'm going to start with you. Fibre-based or paper-based packaging is one of the fastest growing sectors in our industry. We heard that from Kelly. It really is a focus. On the show floor at Global Trade Show Interpack, that's just been staged, paper-based alternatives to plastic packaging were everywhere to be seen. And in this market, meeting demand and growth in fibre-based packaging continues across the value chain. Now, Zipform has invested $8 million into a new facility in Dandenong South, which will be opening in a couple of months' time. And with this plant, John, you are adding fibre-based container capacity in the market. So for those in the audience who don't know Zipform, the audience here, the audience online, please give us the composite canned version of who Zipform is, what it does, and the product applications that you cater to.
Thank you, Lindy, and thank you for the invitation, Zaidee. I think I was the first podcast, and I think the quality certainly improved from then on. But in terms of Zipform packaging, my team would certainly smile when you use the word canned, because there's a swear box at work where people use the word can. They have put $10 in because we make composite packs. A composite can has a metal end, which is not deemed to be curbside recyclable, whereas a composite pack with a paper bottom is. So Zipform packaging started life in 2010 as Sota Packaging. Two individuals who still work within the business had a vision for increasing the use of fibre-based packaging within the Australian industry. We do import some tapered paperboard packaging for the retail market, like ice creams, etc. But our focus in growth is around our manufacturing of our composite, linear-formed composite packs. So the composite pack itself contains over 92% fibre. It does contain over 60% post-consumer recycled content. So it already meets the national packaging targets. And it's really interesting listening to Chris and the reaffirmation of the targets, because really between 2010 and 2018, when I actually joined, I was good timing. The volume wasn't necessarily growing. Brand owners and retailers weren't driving change at that point. The national packaging targets have really driven that momentum. So that is why we as a business, we're a small business. There's only 13 of us in the business. We've invested over $8.5 million in the new plant, as Lindy suggested, and that's really on the back of understanding that the drive within the industry and the demand is going to increase significantly. So it's a punt in a way. Our chairman has been incredibly supportive in supporting our strategy. So for us, we've invested heavily, both in time and money, in fibre-based packaging. The packaging itself is hermetically sealed. It can contain any type of product, liquids. We've talked to soup customers, other liquid customers. Predominantly, you'll see our packaging on shelf in powder space, Natvia, stevia product. On Woolies shelves, Pana drinking chocolate, Keep It Cleaner, protein powders, etc. So at the moment, we're in the dry space, but there's no reason to believe that our packaging can't be used for liquids. So certainly the future's bright for us. We want to fill the Melbourne plant. We'll be welcoming, obviously, all stakeholders to view the Melbourne plant. It's going to be a world-class facility, which we'll use to really, as a footprint, to grow our ambition, not just in Australia, but globally around utilising this unique technology to produce fibre-based packaging.
Thank you, John. Over to you, Sally. Now, here we are in 2023, the global spotlight on sustainable brands and how consumers are driving brands to make conscious decisions when they're purchasing their products. You founded Choice for Life as a vehicle to continue the authentic storytelling for brands. Now, from the perspective of the consumer, why is it so important for brands to get this right?
Thanks, Lindy, and also congratulations to Ball Doggett. I just think it's fabulous that we're all here today, and wonderful. Zaidee over there, tucked away in the corner, a big thank you to you. Why is it important to the consumer? Well, I guess when you think about it, the reason we're all here in this room today doing what we're doing so passionately and collaboratively is because of the consumer. Because really, when you think about it, it was the consumer and a small bunch of global change makers who were consumers that pushed back and said, you know what, we cannot keep living this way anymore in this country. We're just on this planet. We are destroying our beautiful world, so we have to do something about it. We have to change the way we manufacture. We have to change the way we shop, live, purchase, everything. So I think that because of that, the consumer has a lot of power, and they have their own values that they, want to align with their purchases. So brands really need to step up. It's the consumer that's pushing the brands to do this. So I just think that's an incredible place to be in the world that we're at today. So I think brands are they're all aware of it. We're in this room right now. We all know that we all have to do something. We're all making small steps towards this change that we need to make. And I think it's amazing that we're doing it. And we certainly cannot do it unless we're doing it together. But the consumer the savvy consumer, we know there's more than 50% of them, are looking for that sustainable product, and they want that product to align with their own sustainable values. So if they don't find it, then they're certainly not going to buy an alternative. They just won't buy it. So I think the power of the consumer is that they're going to push that brand to make the change they need to make in order for them to stay in business. I think it's as simple as that. Yeah.
Thanks, Sally. So we have our brands on shelf, but we often forget that there's a whole bunch of manufacturing technology that goes on behind that. So, Asaf, I'm going to speak to you now. One of the key unique selling points of VacuPack is the root in manufacturing technology and your proprietary technology that supports evolving trends in FMCG. So tell us about your business approach to developing innovation and the technology that supports it. And how does this in turn deliver sustainable outcomes for your customers?
Okay, so thank you very much for having me here today. I'm the plastics guy.
We welcome you.
Thank you. I guess for us it all starts from a culture of continuous improvement. Okay, so that's why we're all here today, I guess, because we're all trying to improve what we're doing. But we've used, in terms of how we drive innovation for our customers, we're a bespoke-only manufacturer, so everything we do is custom-made. So the relationship between us and our customer is always very, very close. And what we have been investing in over the last few years is a lot of technology. So when I'm talking about technology, I'm talking about traceability within our business, where we source our materials from, how do we back that up, how fast can we back that up, can we do it in real time? And that's about building trust with our customers, but also allowing our customers to feel safe to make claims that, then claims that the consumer can trust in, can believe, claims that have integrity. And I think that's been lacking over the years. And I think we've got a lot of catch-up to do given what's happened with organisations like Red Cycle and so on. We've lost a lot of trust with the consumer, and we've got a long way to go to build that back up.
Thanks, Asaf. It certainly was a very visible and tangible collapse of a notification of a systemic problem that we have. So we do welcome the conversation on plastics, and we will take it further with you in a moment. Now, Rowena, drinks, very important subject. Okay, so you've spoken, or we heard about earlier, that denomination has put sustainability front and centre, and that you have developed a system or a strategy called Future Proof. What is that? What does that really mean? And how do you engage brands to work with this?
Okay, thank you very much. And I echo all of the thanks to Zaidee as well. So as you heard, denomination is a drinks specialist, and drinks is a particular category that has a pretty large footprint in terms of packaging. In fact, in the UK, we are the worst in terms of our footprint. So we felt that we needed to come up with something that would help our clients create better packaging from a really objective point of view. So we don't have a vested interest. We're not a manufacturer. So we can provide our clients with up-to-date, market-specific information and recommendations as to all parts of the packaging. And we have a sustainability team internally. They are trained every 2 weeks, have been for about coming on to 4 years now. So they're huge depth of knowledge, and at the forefront of legislative changes that are happening in Europe, America, Asia, Australia, etc., and all of the innovations that are happening, so that we can then provide our clients with really specific information to their particular brand, to their category, in a way that, as I said, we've got no vested interest, is very objective, but will hopefully help all of our clients have better packaging, better brands, and a better alignment to their sustainability goals.
Great. Well, we're going to hear some more examples of that in a moment. John, I'm going to come back to you now. You wear another hat as well. Apart from being MD of Zipform, you're also very active in the Australian Institute of Packaging, the Vice President, no less. And we heard from Nerida earlier to say how Australia is punching above its weight, Australasia, when it comes to awards. Zipform, you've also won several awards for your work. Driving innovation is a very important part of the sustainability conversation. Can you tell us how you think packaging converters and suppliers and printers can continue to drive innovation and sustainability and support brands in their quest to meet those targets that we are chasing so hard?
Well, just to echo what Rose said, I think it's about, we have a responsibility within the supply chain to keep on top of what innovation is out there. A lot of the packaging innovation comes from Europe, and Lindy, you're out in Interpack, you probably walked 100 kilometres while you're out there. So a lot of the innovation's coming out of Europe, so our responsibility is to keep on top of that innovation. Aside from that, within the supply chain, clearly we need to support local industry initiatives nationally. Ecoporium's a great example of collaboration. Obviously, we're all working in the commercial world, and businesses, may not want to collaborate with particular competitive environments. However, I think we have a responsibility to collaborate as collectively as we can across the industry, and that's partly getting involved in terms of forums like this, or sustainability seminars like Annalee had last week, supporting SMEs. So it's a real investment. So it's not just cash investment in terms of investing in technology, it's an investment of time as well. We're a small business, yet myself and my R&D and technical director, we sit on various working groups. We've been involved with APCO working groups. I sit on the Material Stewardship Committee, just recently set up for fibre. That's an investment of time. So, Chris, I'll just echo your words, if you don't mind, that there are no free riders in this world, and businesses can't accept they're going to have a free ride through this rocky journey. So it's about contributing to the collaborative approach, and we need to bring that body of knowledge forward together in a slow way. It may be slow, but we need to bring it in an effective way as a collective. So it's about that collaboration. It's about supporting initiatives like the ARL Marketplace, which is being launched. So the utilisation of the Australasian recycling label, how you can get involved with that as a supplier. You may want to become an accredited vendor to support SMEs through that whole process. So it's really about investment of time, and cash and whatever, in trying to bring forward the industry as a whole in a structured way. It may take time, it may not be 2025, but certainly if we don't get our act together, then clearly there's a big stick hanging over us that needs to be addressed. And it's not just a one-way street. We talked about the supply chain supporting the brand owners and retailers. It's a two-way street. The brand owners and retailers also have to support the supply chain in that process in terms of encouraging innovation. I just hark back to Europe when I talked to a retailer over there, and they said, we want innovation, but we don't want to be first. Well, you've got to take some risks sometimes, you've got to be brave and support innovation through the packaging chain.
Thanks, John. And certainly this development that ecoporium represents is another risk. Thank you, Ball Doggett, for taking it, because these conversations are all part of the essential education that we need to drive this forward. Now, Sally, you're out there, you're talking to consumers. What are the most important factors for them when it comes to looking at the sustainability of a product? Is it about its recyclability? Is it about its recycled content? Is it about the provenance of the material, where it's come from, where it's been derived from? Probably all, but tell us.
It's the packaging. No, I'm joking. But it is. It's partly that. It's everything. It's the supply chain. It's how it's manufactured. It's how it's packaged. It's what the customer's going to do with it when they get it home. You know, Zaidee and I have had many a conversation around this and the importance of when a customer is buying something, they're not just buying what's inside, they're also buying the pack. So, and it's really their responsibility on, disposing of that packaging. And so a customer, when they're buying something, is now considering, which is fabulous, well, what am I going to do with the pack? Should I buy this product? How can I recycle the packaging? Is it recyclable? And they're thinking about that at point of purchase. So the packaging is so important, as we all know. I know I'm speaking to everybody in the industry here, so you know way better than I do how important we need to make the packaging as circular as it possibly can be, because that influences, we know this, the customer's decision right there and then. So I think it's very important, but we're speaking right across the whole spectrum really. It's from where are the ingredients, where are they sourced, how are they sourced, how is the product manufactured, how is it shipped and delivered, packaged, and how does it get to us? And what's its end of life as well? What are we going to do with that product when we're finished with it as well? Is that circular? So I think the consumer and the customer is considering everything now. It's a much bigger picture. It's not just about that short-term gratification of buying something quickly because we need it, we think we need it. We now are considering, well, first of all, do we really need it? Do we really need it? And if we do, what are we going to do with it when we get home, and how are we going to dispose of it when it does come to its end of life? So it's a bigger picture. It is, and that to me is a collective consideration. And I think as humans, we are all change makers, and I think we need to rise above that and consider that. So I think that's what brands are also doing now. Brands are starting to think that way. We're dealing with them all the time. But it comes back to, again, the consumer has pushed for this, and we're all stepping up to do the best we possibly can. And change takes a lot of time, a lot of consideration, a lot of money, and I think the only thing I can say about the consumer, that they need to be a lot more patient, because if they were to know, what you people are doing, what everyone is doing behind the scenes to make these changes is just huge. And I don't think we talk to that enough, which is one of the reasons why I've created the platform that I've created, because I think this storytelling needs to be told. We were having this conversation before. There's so much headway being made, and people are a bit quiet to discuss it and share what they're doing. And I can understand why, because there's naysayers that will step in and say, oh, but what about this? But you haven't done that. But we have to learn to celebrate what people are doing and the changes they are making. Because if we don't celebrate them, and the consumer's not aware of that, and they're not jumping in and buying that product to support that brand because they're making so much headway and spending so much time and energy and money and making changes, then how are they going to survive? So important that we think above, we step above, all of us, that we all step above it and work towards it that way, because let's face it, we're all consumers, every single one of us.
There's certainly still very much a gap between what consumers understand is going on in packaging.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of anti-plastic buzz around. This is a false narrative, as we know. And those in the know when it comes to in packaging would say that plastic as a material is being unfairly demonized. Now, Asaf, you're the plastic guy today. You've worked with Ball Doggett to provide a solution that's 100% PCR, PET, and that supports the sustainable goals of your customers. Tell us a bit about that process, the project. What was the outcome, and what was the customer response?
Well, first of all, I wouldn't say that plastic has been completely unfairly demonised. Sorry. I think it's being thought of as a material where it should be thought of as a technology. Okay? Plastics could be so many things, and there is no pathway to net zero by 2050 without plastics. So we need to learn how to use it and use it wisely, as with any technology. In terms of how we went about developing so we make, we're about 70% at the moment of our portfolio is 100% post-consumer recycled PET. Wow. So that's we're probably leading the industry there. And I believe we're the largest user of PCR PET sheet in the country. In terms of developing a product using PCR PET, it's not really any different. I mean, at the end of the day, it has to be fit for purpose and pass all of the tests and so on. You might want to do migration tests and so on just to make the customer feel a little bit more at ease in terms of its food safety. But because it is a new material and it's a varying material, so we're seeing, because demand is growing for PCR, we're seeing new feedstocks coming through, and the quality of the material does vary. It's not a virgin material. So you're dealing with a moving beast in a sense. So your quality systems need to be right up there. You need to be gathering data in real time. You need to, we've even taken like Industry 4.0 principles and have direct feedback from our customers from their shop floor in terms of how their packaging is performing, just to get that real-time data and I suppose cut the amount of time it takes and lag in terms of quality feedback. So those sort of things have been helpful in terms of determining how the packaging is performing. And so far it's been very successful. You'll start to see all of Coles's bakery products being stamped with a 100% PCR material, and that's coming online, even though it's been around for some time. But that's starting to come online now.
So what other applications? So that's bakery. Are the trays and products that you're making also for the meat industry? Could you share that?
Yes. So meat trays as well in Woolworths are made from us anyway. We're not the sole supplier, but from us they are 100% post-consumer recycled material. We are, as I said, we're at 70% at the moment. We're aiming for 100%. There are some products which it may be a little bit more difficult to use PCR just because of the variation in the quality. But we're working on that as well in terms of making sure that we get the right quality material for highly functioning packaging.
I have to ask, can you tell us about the cost difference and how difficult it is? Is that a barrier that you have to overcome with your customers?
No. At the moment, it used to be, but we have not seen one tender in the last, 3-4 years that has requested anything other than recycled content. I suppose our challenge is making it worth the brand owners, worth their while to invest in 100% content rather than watering it down and going maybe 30%, 50% or so on. So, and that's a part of really consumer education. How do you get that message across to the consumer that one package is actually, or one brand owner is doing a little bit more than the other, you know? So maybe, like we have star ratings on energy efficiency for washing machines.
Yeah.
We don't have star ratings for energy efficiency of packaging.
Oh, another label, Chris. Okay, we need to move on now. Rowena, let's get back to drinks. So the beverage industry, especially at the premium end as well, has so many touch points. Why do you think shared knowledge or a shared place where we can get this information like ecoporium is offering is so important to our industry, especially at this critical juncture where we're changing and shifting traditional mindsets?
Yeah, I mean, you're right, it is a critical juncture. I just feel that, and this has been a message, I think, from everyone that's spoken, that community is incredibly important. So if we don't all act together and share information and go on this journey together and just, get into petty competitiveness, we're never going to get anywhere. So I think in terms of ecoporium is a great example. There are other really fantastic organisations like Porto Protocol, which really encourage that sharing of information so that agencies like us, brand owners, suppliers can all learn together and all progress much faster. In terms of premium brands, obviously, we have some issues within the drinks industry, which was for a long time, the heaviness of the glass meant an increased perception of quality from consumers. We are changing that. I wouldn't say changing it terribly quickly, and in some markets, particularly in Asia, where it's much slower. But we are using information on our packaging, developing new brands to really help consumers understand that you don't need those old conventional cues like a heavy bottle and lots of gold foil and all the tricks that go into a gift box. You can actually do it really cleverly, really simply, and really, with the environment first in mind as you move to more quality products. And I think more conversations like this enable brand owners to feel more comfortable, to take more risks, and as soon as we do that, we'll get to a better place in the end.
Well, that's where we all need to get to that better place, which is why we have this launch today. Unfortunately, of course, we're running out of time. So while we have invited Q&A, all the questions that are being put onto Slido will be forwarded and responded to via the ecoporium platform. Isn't that marvellous? So at this point, thank you folks for joining us. It's been a wonderful panel session.
Thank you so much for that insight, and I just want to, at this point, say thank you to Kelly, to Amber, to Chris, Nerida, Rowena, Asaf, Sally and John for bringing in your insight to this forum today and supporting the launch of ecoporium. We could not be more grateful as Ball Doggett, so thank you very much. Thank you. Feel free to have a seat, thank you. Now, I know today we are all going to leave richer with the result of the knowledge that each of our speakers have shared with us. And it really is a theme around the collective of association and industry coming together. That has been the theme throughout this incredible conversation today, for the greater good. Sustainability is at the core, as Chris was saying earlier, of good practices, and it is no longer a vehicle for marketing deliverables, rather part of the broader business strategy driven from the leadership teams, from the CEOs, from the managing directors, from the CFOs. And it's demonstrated within our own business, and that's why I'm so proud to be part of Ball Doggett. The necessary discussion of all businesses is how we start the journey towards our own sustainable roadmaps. And Ball Doggett values being part of this collective and making an impact, creating these shared experiences to reduce impacts on the environment. Today's message is, if you have not started, it's time. If you don't know where, there is a community and an industry to support you on those first steps forward. And essentially, we are all stewards of the earth, and the impact we make on the earth is reflected on the decisions that we make on our daily basis. My hope for us all today as we leave is that we as change makers in our lives, be personal or professional, become the inspirational agents for the next conversation that you're having and to do better for our own sustainable purposes. Now, as we do conclude today, I just want to say it has been such a thrill to hear and see everyone absorbing this content this morning. There are more conversations to have. I welcome you all to get in contact if you want to contribute to ecoporium, because it is about the community spirit. Now, Lindy, you and your team have done a sensational job, and I'm really proud to have our ecoporium platform on the cover today. If you are not logged on to PKN News, please subscribe, because the content is real, it's live, and it's fantastic. You can take one of these magazines, and thank you for getting it ready for our launch. It is outside with our team as you leave today, and also one of our brochures, ecoporium. Now, in true fashion of what we do very well is shared experiences. That's enough from me today. Guys, have a great day, but before we do close, an accomplished poet, Lindy, will actually share something that she's purposely written for today's session. So thank you all and have a great day.
It's become a bit of a thing now, but Zaidee asked me to think about whether I'd like to do one of my old poems. And I said, well, no, let me try something different. So here's a little poem called Just Say the Word. It's for Zaidee in the collective spirit of Ubuntu. I am because we are. Just say the word, I'll jump on board this new platform you are driving. I'll back your cause without a pause, for the shared vision we are prizing is a world that puts sustainable first in all packaging it's designing, where material choice has share of voice in all products it's devising, and end of life becomes the knife to carve guidelines it's revising. We'll make a noise not losing poise and slay dragons in our striving. Do what it takes to raise the stakes and spur action, no compromising. For print and pack, design off the rack, the value chain's galvanizing. And with this launch, support is staunch, see a view of industry thriving. Leading the pack, there's no looking back. Through ecoporium, you are rising.
Thank you all. Have an amazing rest of the day, and I look forward to continuing our conversation.